Hi there, it's Nichol Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be creating some dimensional spring flowers for this beautiful card. These are super dimensional, so I do want to preface this with this is not a card that I would send in the mail. This needs to be hand delivered. I know when I created my fall one, which I will link to at the end of this video, it was the same thing. And I actually sent it, I did send it to someone, but I sent it in a box with bubble wrap around it to the recipient. I actually sent it to Susan Opal, and I just made sure that it wasn't going to get crushed. So I just want to preface that. But if you love dimensional flowers, I'm thinking for things like home decor, decorating frames, things like that. These dies from Spellbinders are incredible. So there was the Susan's Fall Flora, which is the video I'm linking to at the end of this one, and then this is the Spring Flora. I have a couple of the die sets from the release to work with. There are several others, plus some stamps, I believe, some greetings. I am using today the PARROT tulips, which is what I'm inking up here. These are, you get the PARROT tulip dies, leaves, and all the little goodies there. What I love is that on the dies, it tells you how many times you need to die cut them for your card. So I have everything that comes on the screen right now. I did opt to use inks to add shading to my flowers. I personally really love how that works out. I think you get a lot of depth and dimension. I'm going to show you several different ways, but I'm going to show you what Spellbinders came out with. This is the flower toolkit. You guys, I love it. You get a tool in one. I already have a tool in one, but it's great to have another one, quite honestly. You get the foam block, you get all of the little paper, some scissors, all the different tips. I'm going to actually lay them out here on the foam block to give your flowers that depth and dimension. Because you might be wondering, how am I going to take that flat cardstock and add texture to it? Well, it works so great if you have the proper tools. So a tool in one is needed for sure. You might even have some things that you can use at home, but definitely if you have a stylus tip and maybe the little tip that I'm going to be using here today, it makes it so handy. So this is probably going to sound funny, but I really think that the tip here that I'm using to curl up the leaves looks like one of those pimple extraction tools. I don't know if anybody else follows like Dr. Pimple Popper or whatever, but she always uses this tool that looks like this, and that's what I thought of. But amazing, it just gives your flowers the most incredible dimension. So I know that's kind of funny, but you guys get all kinds of funny information when you come to my channel, I think. But anywho, it is amazing. Now, I kind of didn't use it the right way. I mean, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. I'm going to show you how I end up using it later. Like you can see, I'm coming from the center and going to the outer edge of the petal. I actually like it better if you pull from the edge of the petal to the center. Just play around with it, see what works best for you. But you can totally see by using that tool all the way along each petal that it's curling it up. It's giving it fantastic texture. That's what we want. We are not looking for flat flowers here. We are looking for beautiful dimensional flowers. And the ink ends up being on the tips of the petals for this PARROT tulip. And it looks incredible when dry. I love how it gives it that two-tone look. Really a huge fan. Okay, so then in the toolkit, there is this great little, like, it's kind of like a piercing tool, but it has a little, I don't know, it just has that, it doesn't go straight. It's got that little curve to it at the end. It's perfect for scoring your leaves, adding texture, adding veining. Love this so much. So I did that first, and then I'm going to take my green ink and ink up part of the leaf. And I did that because I want the ink to catch on anything that I scored. I want it to catch on that veining so it really shows up in the finished leaf. Now I am using all dye inks today, and that's gonna be, it's gonna make it so it will dry a little bit lighter than what you see here. And then you can always take a stylus tool and then, like, I like to flip them over and roll it along the tip because it's going to just naturally give it a little bit more bend to it. It's really, really fun. This is, I want to be completely transparent and upfront with you guys. These did take a while to create. I probably worked on this for 2 hours, just die cutting, inking, and assembling flowers. And then I, of course, had to, I didn't have to, I guess, but I foiled the background and added a foiled sentiment and a stamped and embossed sentiment. And then I assembled everything on my card. So it did take some time. It's not going to be super fast. There's a lot of layers for many, many of the flowers here, but I found it really relaxing. And like I said, assembling these flowers is just fun. I don't know. I am completely amazed that I am able to get these realistic looking flowers, because that is just like not my forte, and I am not good at growing flowers either. It's a big joke in my family because I love them. I love flowers. I don't know a ton about them. I really don't. But it's a big joke between my kids and me that I kill everything. They call me brown thumb. I did pretty good last summer, but it's just, I don't understand it. I have one living grandparent left, and it's actually my grandpa, who has the most amazing green thumb ever. Always has. And I really need to go ask him the next time I visit what his secret is, because I literally kill everything, which is sad to me. Anyway, so it's one of my goals this summer to try not to kill some flowers and plants. Anyway, again, you guys are getting all kinds of good info from me today, I guess. The stylus tip. Okay, so one thing about this Susan's toolkit that I so love, different sizes of the stylus. I mean, teeny tiny, which you're going to see me use in a flower die at the end of the video or near the end of the video, to the bigger ones. I'm using kind of the mid-size one, but oh my gosh, it makes a huge difference. And see how you can really press into that foam block to help shape the flower, that the petals just kind of pull up. I absolutely love this. I am taking liquid adhesive. My big tip for this is using a good strong liquid adhesive. That's because you want your flowers to stay together, but you also want them to have quote unquote movement. You don't want all the petals to be glued together. So I'm only adding a little bead of glue at the base and then kind of pinching the flowers together and holding them together. I also use something heavy. You can use acrylic blocks. I've got this great Stamper's Secret tool that you're going to see me use, not in this video, but in many upcoming videos to help press your MISTI. It's heavy, and I used it to hold things down. That is not its intended use, but I always just grab something heavy to help kind of pinch and hold them. You're going to see that especially when I put together the remaining Parrot tulips and the peony. So for the peony, lots and lots of layers. This is a peony after all, which is one of my absolute favorite flowers of all time. I love peonies. And I decided to use this deep dark dull pink cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. But the funny thing about it is it's definitely not quite the right color, and I didn't really want to use a dark pink to add shading to this, and ultimately I opted to use a white pigment ink. And I started out by adding the ink around the edges on my glass mat, but it's making a ginormous mess. So I decided to just pick it up and pounce it around the edges. I'm not being super precise. I'm just getting that color on there, and I'm doing both the front and the back because the petals are going to curve up. And I guess I forgot to mention, on the Parrot tulips, I inked the front and the back as well. Because the petals curve up, I don't want it to be this dark, dark pink that you're seeing when the petals come curving up. So I am doing both sides. Again, as the pigment ink dries, that is going to not be quite as maybe harsh as you see here. But what I love is that in the finished flower, it softens it so much. So I really loved this. That was kind of, I went out on a limb. I was going to use a light pink cardstock, but I've done that for some of the tulips, and I really wanted something, I wanted this to be a deep dark pink peony, but I needed some depth and dimension, and so that's how I achieved it. You could also use Copic markers. I think that would be great. I know the Spellbinders channel has some great videos, and the designer of these floral die sets, she uses Copics and just does an amazing job. Her flowers are so realistic, so definitely check that out. Let's clean up my work surface. I also was super careful to clean up my work surface a lot because I don't want any of that ink transferring. So for my other two Parrot tulips, the first one was out of Hero Art's Peony Pink cardstock. This is some Lawn Fawn Apricot cardstock. Again, I use the same color of ink for all of them, but we've got like a pink on pink, orange and pink, and then a yellow and pink is going to be the last color combination. I just changed where I inked up the color. So the last one is some Simon Says Stamp lemon cardstock that I inked towards the base and left the tips yellow. I left the cardstock color and then inked just the center of the die, and then when the petals curve up, it's all kind of concentrated around the base. Now you can see I'm starting to assemble the peony leaves. It's definitely a little bit of work because you want to take that like the I don't know, the little loop end tool, and you want to go over the entire petal, and then you want to use the stylus in the center to help roll up those leaves. And see how I'm going from the outer edge of the petal towards the center? I like the results so much better. I'm checking to make sure that I have the right amount of petals here. And then I'm using some of the tweezers, which I think I also forgot to mention come in that flower kit. Probably my favorite tweezers and my favorite thing from the kit are the tweezers. There's regular tweezers and then the reverse grip tweezers. You need them both. You can get the tweezers separately, and if you need craft tweezers, I highly, highly recommend these. In fact, I got rid of all the other tweezers I own, except for another pair that I use on for my planning and stuff. But I love these. I'm thinking about picking up another set of these tweezers to keep with my planning stuff, just so that I have a set of tweezers for card making and for planning. That's how much I love them. They are fantastic. We're starting to see the shape of our peony. How awesome is this, you guys? Now, the petals do have a tendency to kind of want to spread out just a little bit, even after the glue. So you're going to notice that I'm going to use some heavy stuff to help hold each section. What I'm doing is I'm gluing any of the same size petals. Remember how I mentioned that there are numbers on the dies telling you how many times you need to die cut that particular die for each flower. So for example, the big size flower, that's 4 times, which I have adhered 2 of them together and then 2 of them I haven't used yet. For the smallest and then the next smallest, They are on the same die together, and you die cut that 2 times, so there's 2 of each of those. For the medium size flower petal that I just put together, that's the one right above that I was kind of making sure I had all the right size, 3 of those. So lots of petals. That is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 just for the double peony. You can also make single peonies. I did not make any single peonies for my card today, but I am sure I'll be making some in the future. I love, love, love these dies. So the little teeny tiny guys, I want to be held together pretty good. And I was going to use like the tweezers, and I thought that's not really working the way I want it to. So I'm probably going to grab something heavy and help hold that down. If you want it to be pinched a little tighter, you can add even a little more glue to that if you want. But again, I'm just using that Stamper's Secret tool because it's really nice and heavy to just hold it together. And surprisingly, it doesn't smash it. I was amazed. We're going to put the rest of these together, and you can see I'm using the tip of my tweezers to kind of push each layer down into the glue. And I'm using tweezers to help assemble my flowers as well. I kind of did it in sections so that each section could be drying while I worked on giving the next one the texture and gluing all of the pieces together. When the peony is assembled, the white around the edges really helps. I'm thrilled with the results on this. I was really, really nervous, but I think it ended up fantastic. You're also, in the finished flower, going to notice those score lines from the tool a lot more in the bigger flower petals. You can really see them right here, which again gives you that more realistic look. I really thought when I watched some of the videos from the fall release, I was like, I do not want to do all that work. I don't want to add all of that to my flowers. This is what I think in my head, just thinking I want to take the easy way out. But then I went ahead and I did some of that, and I couldn't believe the difference. I mean, I was sold. It does make a huge difference. If you love dimensional flowers, no matter what kind of dies you're using, I think you could really come up with some great things. I love this toolkit that much. I really, really recommend it. Now here are my leaves. These are the leaves for the peony, or the darker ones. I die cut those from some Hero Arts Palm cardstock and inked them with Pink Fresh Studio Evergreen ink just down near the base to give them a little texture. And then I'm just kind of bending them up using my tweezers, using my stylus. I've also got my rest of my individual leaves for the Parrot tulips. I'm gonna get all the things assembled and ready to go, and then we're gonna go ahead and build a background. So the flowers take up the majority of the card, but I know I've mentioned this in other card videos before. If I have something big, I generally don't like a plain background. I like something soft and simple because we definitely want the focus to be on the beautiful flowers and of course our sentiment, but I like to have something going on. And glimmering, foiling, oh my gosh, I absolutely love. I know I've had quite a few foiling videos lately, but foiling is such a fantastic way to add a little texture. So this is the Spellbinders Skinny Stripe background. It is my new favorite background from Spellbinders. It creates these little skinny stripes. If you love a skinny stripe background and you want to make your own foil backgrounds, I highly, highly recommend it. I love using a bigger size cardstock panel. I usually use a half sheet of 8.5 by 11. So that color, I do want to mention what color I just used, was SKYBRIGHT on Simon Says Stamp Sea Glass cardstock. And then I am foiling a sentiment. This is the Essential Glimmer Sentiments in Magenta. I am foiling Just a Note. I thought the magenta would really pick up the pinks I used in my card and give it that springy feel. and I love how it turned out. Now I had to cut a little over foiling, and so I'm using the Couture Creations Detailer tool to erase a little. I got a little aggressive with the letter O, and I kind of got it where I don't like, but it's okay. I'm going to go with it. I actually had to foil this twice. The first one I messed up. So I decided I wasn't going to go 3 times. For the rest of any other overfoiling, which there wasn't really a lot here for the background, I just used the Tombow Mono Sand Eraser. And then the reason I use that half sheet of cardstock is I don't have to worry about lining up my background panel. Now I can take a rectangle die. This happens to be an Essential Rectangles etched die from Spellbinders, and I can die cut it into the perfect rectangle shape to fit my card front. So now I have this beautiful skinny stripe foiled background with a foiled sentiment, and I can add flowers to it. I did kind of lay out some of my flowers to start with. I have some I have more die cut pieces because I'm going to do a small peony bud. I thought that would look cute with the bigger peony. And then of course we have our parrot tulips, but this is what I started with. I knew I had this, and I knew I wanted to make the little peony bud. And I know in the finished card, you're going to see that there's some little kind of creamy white, or creamy yellow, pardon me, flowers intermixed. They're chrysanthemums from a fall set. Because I only have these 2 spring sets, I grabbed a fall set because I felt like I needed another flower mixed in here. When I looked at my finished card, I felt like there were some holes, I guess, and I wanted a different type of flower for my arrangement. I didn't want to do more tulips or more peonies, and so I opted to add the little chrysanthemums, which is what we're going to do here in a little bit. I did go ahead and assemble everything else first, and that's really when, once I have everything glued down in place, was when I realized I'm missing something. But I did die cut one of the petals for my peony bud from the palm green cardstock that I'm going to wrap around the base. So I treated it very much like I did the rest of the petals, adding the texture and curling it up. And then that's going to go on the outer part of my little peony bud here. So the peony actually has, I think, just 4 petal layers, and then the outer green layer, so 5 total. I'm just going over the tips with my stylus and then just curling it up. I'm gonna squish it down in the center and put the 2 little teeny tiny pieces together. Perfect. And again, I just put something heavy on top. And we're going to assemble our little bud and tuck that onto our card. Wherever. I was kind of playing around with it, trying to decide where I thought it might look the best. You can always kind of pinch and curl any of the petals for your flowers or for your leaves with your tweezers. They're really great for that. And the more greenery you can add, the better. There are some other smaller like greenery and little flower sets that I think I want to pick up to use with my flowers because I just think they really make beautiful flower arrangements, and I like tucking little things in. So here is our big peony. Of course, I put the big flower down first and then we'll build out from there. And a little tip when adding these to your project, I suggest glue just at the very base. Don't put too much glue out there because you want to be able to tuck greenery and leaves underneath. You want to maybe pull up part of the leaves. You'll notice that I'll pull some things up and tuck some flowers and stuff next to these. Now, I completely forgot before I started gluing everything down that I wanted to stamp a sentiment. Normally, I would have stamped and embossed this using the MISTI, I have not used an acrylic block in forever, pardon my head in the way. I stamped and embossed "Your Friendship Means the World to Me" from the Simon Says stamp inside Friendship Messages stamp set. I thought that worked really, really pretty here. I'm going to stamp and emboss that in white in between two of those foiled lines, right underneath just a note. I don't think you would even have to add anything extra if you didn't want to. Just a note works, but I liked how that kind of filled in that area in the upper left of the card. I want to make sure my heat tool is really good and warm before I bring it to my card so it melts instantly and I'm not holding that heat there too long. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and go back and finish adhering our flowers. I am going to speed this up just for the sake of saving some time for the video. We're going to have a couple of parrot tulips up here and some nice greenery. And then we're going to have our final one down in the bottom left corner. And you'll notice that I like to do things in odd numbers. I know I've mentioned that a lot. And I do have odd numbers here. So this is going to be 5 flowers. But there are some open spots. I don't feel like it's as full as I personally like. And I had already spent so much time on this, but I really, really felt like it needed some little flowers. And I looked at my dies thinking, can I just make something up? Just add some little flowers in. And then I went back and grabbed the fall sets. And I thought, you know, that little chrysanthemum I think would be really pretty, and doing some kind of creamy yellow, like almost ivory yellow flowers might be a nice contrast to the rest of this. And so that's kind of how I came to the conclusion of these next flowers that I'm going to die cut and put together for you. I've added in all this greenery though, and it's left, and I have made sure that I haven't extended glue out underneath leaves and things so that I can kind of pick them up, and you'll notice that when we start putting it together. I did go ahead and add some little white hearts because at this point I still thought, well, let's add some hearts. That might fill it up. That's always kind of my thinking. Let's add an embellishment. And I still wasn't happy with it. Even when I took a step back, I was like, I like those. I think those are cute. Those are good. But there are some holes and I couldn't decide about the flowers. Again, just using little dabs of glue to add these. And an embellishment wand or crystal katana, jewel picker, whatever you have, it is going to be fantastic for dealing with any little tiny small embellishments. These white hearts are actually the Tic Tac jelly hearts from Trinity Stamps, and they are an amazing opaque white. I have used a lot of like translucent heart colors, but these are fantastic. Okay, I know I didn't realize my video camera was still zoomed in so much, so I know it's a little blurry. Stick with me. It's going to zoom out. I'm inking up the centers of all of these creamy chrysanthemums. This set is actually called the Button and Daisy Chrysanthemum. And then I'm using the tool just like before and going to adhere all of these pieces together. And I'm going to do this 3 times. So it's a little bit of work, but the petals are small and they went together really, really fast. I will zoom out, I promise. I thought it was quicker. Yeah, there we go. And you can see they're really cute. And when I add the first one to my card, I was instantly like, yep, this flower is perfect. Then the little center, it's all of these teeny tiny little stars, and I just add a random assortment to each flower center. This is where that teeny tiny stylus tip comes in handy. So here in a second, let's add the rest of these. I will tell you on one of these, in fact, I think it's this one. I forgot to add the last layer for the flower, but no one probably knows. Now everybody knows because I told you. But if you forget, it's okay. The last 2 flowers I did add that last layer. So there's a ton of layers here. Let me grab that die so I can tell you exactly how many. Well, maybe. Of course. So here are all those little teeny tiny stars that I was talking about. So there is, I don't think I used the two biggest sizes. I didn't do as many layers as you could. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers, and then can't talk, sorry guys, the little stars in the center. And that is just some Lawn Fawn Sunflower cardstock. I didn't add any inking there. You could always ink up some cardstock and then die cut it if you wanted to with the stars. And I'm using my tweezers. These little guys are so teeny tiny. I definitely recommend using something to pick them up and pop them in place. And I just kind of kept adding them until I felt like I had a good amount. But you'll notice when I go to add these, I'm going to lift up some of the leaves and things, and I'm going to tuck it kind of at an angle, and it fills in. So the first spot I want to fill in is right below those 2 parrot tulips at the top, and kind of right above the big peony. I feel like there's a really big hole. I'm going to lift up the greenery of the leaves and tuck that chrysanthemum kind of down underneath. But I want to make sure I don't cover up the stamped and embossed sentiment. So we'll add a little glue, kind of more to one side, if you will, and then we're just going to tuck it down in here. And then I did use my tweezers to kind of pinch it down to the cardstock. And it's going to look really, really cute. It's fantastic once that glue has dried all the way. And then again, we're going to do this 2 more times. I will do those remaining 2 flowers off camera, and then we're going to tuck both of those down kind of in the lower left corner, right below the big tulip, and kind of between not the big tulip, the big peony. So right between the peonies and that remaining parrot tulip. And I love how this looks. I think it really fills everything in so much better. And that is it, you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing some dimensional spring florals with these brand new Spellbinders dies from the Susan's Spring Flora collection. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring dimensional flowers that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.